Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's stream. Let's dive right into it, shall we? So, let's start off with our questions in the Discord channel, starting with XRP. Okay. This chart has gotten very quiet. I'm also kind of curious how it's performing in relation to its all-time high in the USD pairing. So, because it's very easy to look at a Bitcoin chart, or the Bitcoin pairing, excuse me, and look at the all-time high and say, wow, what if we went there again? But sometimes you can forget that going to the all-time Bitcoin high would put the entire market cap above Bitcoin, and that just doesn't make sense. So essentially, you just want to find a quick ratio of if you're trying to compare previous highs to whatever's happening now, just make sure you're drawing some realistic comparisons to the cap, the total value. So like here, this Bitcoin all-time high was 23369 at $3, right? So if we are currently valued at 76 cents, right? To make this easy, we can say this would have to 5x, right, to match its prior USD value, right? So just a quick jaunt to the upside here. Wow, this is a slow chart. A quick look at the upside here, right, to the $3 mark, 300% upside. So if we were to look at a 300% upside in the current Bitcoin value, what would that look like? Right? In order to match the all-time high, strictly from Bitcoin moves, or the Bitcoin pairing moving, it'd be a 300% upside. So in order to hit that $3 mark again to its previous highest possible market cap, we would have a target around 71.20, which entertainingly enough is the value where this downtrend really started. So in order for Bitcoin just to, or I'm sorry, in order for XRP to return to that status quo, that would actually be matching its all-time high pricing. So XRP is one of the charts I'm willing to look at the USD pair on, because if you go ahead and look at the correlation coefficient with Bitcoin, it's essentially complete noise. You don't really get a lot of synchronous movement here, which implies XRP's price moves independently of Bitcoin's. And when looking at an altcoin, that is a very important metric to account for. So, do we have potential upside? Yeah, we have quite a bit. However, I think it would need some pretty fundamental news to actually move XRP significantly to the upside. For now, I think it's a very safe buy. Strictly from the daily chart, I would say there are better opportunities at the moment. The USD pairing, however, is on a steady climb up. So for XRP to maintain its value for the entire duration of the Bitcoin move up, that's very good. Right, since if this can maintain value while Bitcoin goes up, then holding XRP is reasonable. You're just adding another hinge to the pendulum. Okay, that's about it. 4-hour chart, however, would like to point out this little nice hike up is currently mean reverting. So target around 1700. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Okay. Here on the 4-hour chart, this nice upward push did not generate its own plume of mass because we would need a period of compression before an upward move to really see a trend pivot here on the 4-hour chart. Now, we can probably generate something on a lower time frame. Okay, yeah. So, very nice. We do have this trend pivot. It was respected. And when we did cross inside, you'll notice that we did spike up to touch our 3.2 standard deviation of our CLCP, which is implied to be the compressionary range for an active bearish mean reversion condition. So this is the swing high, and it treats it very nicely. And we do, in fact, see mean reversion. So we are directly on the mean in an active mean reversion condition, which essentially means I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, we are defined in a compressionary range in the exact middle on the mean. You could use this as a buy pivot, but I would not consider it the highest probability. So, yeah, this trend line looks okay. Right, like let's look over here. So we had this bullish mean reversion condition. We touch the mean and then we reverse slightly. So essentially the thing is, yes, it can act as a support or resistance, but what happens after that is very much up in the air, right? So you get this little noisy section and then we start a new trend, right? Which when we look at the higher time frame is a result of sufficient compression for the downward move on the wave PM. And we do see that upward cross, which does result in trend, right? Why? Because CCI was completely weighted positively while the expansion was happening. So positive weighted CCI with an expansion with everything below 0.7 does result in trend. We had trend, which we defined on the 1-hour chart as this pivot. We identified where the pivot broke, and then we defined the swing high to go to the mean. And that's that. So what happens next? I don't know. Totally okay to admit that. It is better you admit that you do not know what's going to happen next than to project your bias onto a chart. Now, let's talk about my bias. I got my Bitcoin entry right here at the exact bottom, which was the 3.2 standard deviation of a developed trend. That is a very good entry. And I am bullish enough on Bitcoin in the long term. For instance, if we were to go to the weekly chart, wow, look at that. That is a very nice upward trend. Now, if I were to have bought the exact bottom right there for the trend continuation, that would make me very happy. Now, do I have enough data to actually make that prediction? No, but I have a good entry into a very long-term upward trend, and I'm going to hold that entry. So I'm going to stay along simply because it's the easy thing to do that I don't have to think about too much, and I like it. On a long enough time frame, Bitcoin goes up, and I got a good macro level entry. So that's enough for me. So that is my bias. The technicals say on the lower time frames, I don't know. My dog is crazy. She's chasing her tail. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the questions for today's live stream. I do not see any. Great. All right, let's finish off with Ocean Soul. All right, Ocean You know what? Actually, Cap Cryptos, you had yourself a question. In the case or of event of a downtrend, what would be the play? Yes, let's talk about that. So, unless this tanks hard right now, if it tanked hard right now, I wouldn't have a play for you because there is not enough compression on the wave PM, right? We would want to see this nice and green for the next expansion to happen. And if that expansion happened after that compression, then we would be able to define the trend pivot, which we would be able to take shorts off of. If we were to immediately drop right now, we would not define a trend pivot and we would not have a play. So if Bitcoin goes sideways for a while and then goes down, that would be better for us than if we just went down. I'm going to check out Luna because that is on my watch list. Interesting. So this is a very clean mean reversion pivot, and we are respecting the hell out of it. So essentially, the reason I like this chart is here on the higher time frames, we have a very strong trend, and we have what appears to be a swing low. Now, we can actually define that swing low very, very precisely based on this pivot right here, the 1.25 standard deviation of our longest overexpanded period, right? So if we cross inside that, that would be a very strong buy for me. I would be very interested in a position in Luna because that is 100% upside on just like, well, a 50% upside on just the mean reversion, and then you have potential for trend continuation. So essentially, you would be looking at like a 5% downside and 75% upside. It's ridiculous. So this is on my watch list. Right? Because if we actually look, right, you're going to love this. Hold on. Sure. We essentially saw the exact same right here. The exact same thing right here, where we have the downward expansion, we enter mean reversion, and then that is the beginning of the upward trend. So that's what I'm waiting for. Looks very interesting. Okay. I'm going to do Sol. This is a bearish downtrend. If you happen to tag your 3.2 standard deviation, you could attempt a long off that. Just know it's going to be very volatile and you are going to be scalping. So interesting play. Daily chart. Guess we're having macro level mean reversion, but yeah. So 4 hour defines that pretty nicely. Let's look for that pivot. Okay. The dog is crazy. All right. Uni Bitcoin. No bark. Interesting. This is an active mean reversion condition. So we have the expansion. We have the pivot. Pivot is crossed, right? So we're just looking for entry into the pivot. If you want to attempt a very aggressive long at 24.05, I would consider that a viable position. And your target is just going to be the 200 moving average on the 4 hour chart. Very interesting position. Because this is technically a bullish mean reversion condition that's active, and we are, what, 3% away from the potential swing low? 5? Yeah. So if we get another 4% drop, try a buy and go for that mean. Interesting chart. Great pickup there, trading bot, Tony D. Okay. We found a good chart. Uni BTC, awesome. Bitcoin's looking a bit emulous. Other than that, it's been a great stream.